Hey everybody, Brandon here, and in today's addition to my new video series being the GMAT, I'm going to talk you guys through how I think about the GMAT test, this little metaphor I use to kind of, break down the GMAT into something a little bit more manageable, less intimidating, but also a way that I like to think about how I address how I'm going to improve my score. So when I first took my initial diagnostic for the GMAT, I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit surprised. I've been a pretty good standardized test taker for quite some time. That I would say, in general, that's usually been my strongest portion of my, academic career. Not to say that I'm, incredibly brilliant or anything, but for the most part, I've usually excelled in tests, and, maintaining longer focus has been more of a struggle of mine in terms of just getting through a lot of course material. I'm very good at executing on tests. And when I first took my first GMAT test, I got something like a 590 or something. It was definitely a far cry from, I think I scored like a 1510 on the old GMAT. I remember scoring like an 800 on the old SAT. In general, I've done pretty decently on standardized tests, and, obviously I understand that's a high school test, so, by no means the same level of competition, but, it was a bit of a shakeup. And just going through a lot of these resources online, I've seen a lot of people, really be intimidated by, breaking the 700 mark or just getting into that higher 600 range. And, to be honest, I've never really been too concerned about that. Now, my current goal to get up to 750, I'm a little bit, not intimidated right now, but I think a certain part of the way I think about things has kind of made it a little bit easier for me to, not really be too intimidated by that. So the analogy I like to use is, I don't really think of this as kind of an insurmountable wall, this huge wall you need to climb, and, if you don't, develop your abilities enough, you're just going to fall all the way down. I like to think of this as, if you've ever seen that TV show Ninja Warrior, I think of this kind of the same way. I think of the GMAT as simply a consecutive set of small little obstacle course challenges that you can just simply address one at a time. And I mean, that's really all it is. It's not this huge insurmountable challenge. It's just a bunch of very specialized problem sets that you need a very particular skill set for. And the way I break down even just the way I, train for the GMAT, train for this obstacle course, I think about, how would maybe some of these people tackling these obstacle courses, how would they train? You can train your overall athleticism. That might even just be your ability to focus, your ability to, simply just think clearly, concentrate, right? Perhaps you have individual skill sets. This is your sentence correction. This is your data science, thinking about my job, data sufficiency. Thinking about algebra, thinking about overlapping sets, thinking about rate problems. These are the individual skill sets, similar to how perhaps in these obstacle courses you need to rock climb, you need to have balance, you need to have the ability to jump and time your jumps. That would be the individual skill set. And then something else that I think is a little bit different than those obstacle courses, the GMAT has a wide range of different shortcuts that allow you to shortcut a lot of the work that you would have to do by simply having great pattern recognition and having, experience with the test. So while a newcomer to this obstacle course may, take a very difficult route to get to the answer, you may come to the start of a certain challenge and realize, well, the way this looks, I know that I can probably make this jump here and I'll be okay. I can make this shortcut. I don't actually need to do this thing over here, because I know from the past that I can do this other thing and skip a lot of work. And oftentimes, skipping a lot of work means you get to, get maybe, keeping with this analogy, maybe you get to skip, a very difficult rock climbing course where there's a lot of, failure points. This is a analogy to perhaps part of the quantitative problems, where actually going through a lot of the work is going to get you, probably lead you to an error rather than you can just back solve, use the answer choices to come to an answer. So I'm not sure if that was really helpful for you, but that's the way I like to think about this in terms of, breaking down the GMAT from this, really intimidating thing that, adapts to your skill and, make sure the problems are always hard. At the end of the day, you're always just going to have one more little challenge in front of you. And, at the end of the day, if you can't solve that particular challenge, you can always just move on to the next one. It's not, you're not just done. You can always come back, make up for the time later. And as far as, thinking about the way you break down your skills, I think it's a great analogy to just think about where you're weak and kind of think about more of a more tangible way that you can, track your progress and think about the way you're progressing as you go about your, your training sessions. Anyways, that is it for today. I hope this, idea, concept helped you out. Good luck studying. I got to get to my practice test. Today's Saturday, so peace out, guys. Take it easy.